I'm going to put it out there that in 90% of use cases, the best way to test a new idea is with no code and then introduce code as needed, even if you are somebody who knows how to code. I have a few reasons for thinking that, and that I'm going to cover today. Why should you listen to me? Because I'm on the internet and I have a microphone. Comes from this post that I saw today that I think sums up why you should start this way. At the very least, start this way. And then when you hit the walls, when and if you hit those walls that everyone is terrified of, about how far you can push a platform, that's when you start introducing code. So it comes from this post. Okay. I was talking to a founder that wasted more than $100,000 on a dev agency to build an MVP without validating his idea. Now, right off the bat, I think that this is something that a lot of us, especially non-technical people, can relate to. Maybe not 100,000, that's a lot. But I've certainly been in the 15 to 25,000 range, right? And that's my savings. Right, that was my savings. That wasn't just money I had laying around. That was like my savings that I put into an app idea that I was so sure about. If you are, that's for coming from the perspective of the non-technical person. If you already know how to code, you may be able to do this yourself. But think about the time investment it's going to take to code what your idea is. Your idea is probably a good one. It may or may not be a good one. Like your market will eventually tell you that. But the point is, the effort is not going to be, or the investment is not going to be financial if you're a coder. The investment is going to be your time and how long it takes you to build that app with traditional coding skills. Maybe you're a front-end developer only, and you're going to need to connect to a database. Right? Does that mean you should learn SQL? Maybe. But there are faster ways to do that. All right. As you imagine, the money went down the drain because he fell into the trap of developing a solution for a problem that he was suffering from without validating his assumptions or interviewing anybody else. The money went down the drain because he fell into the trap of developing a solution for a problem that he was suffering from without validating these assumptions of interviewing anyone else. Okay, so that's to say that, and I've made this mistake too. I have a problem, so I assume that other people that are similar to me have that problem, and that, which may be true, but you also, like, the thing that I didn't consider is that people may see that problem differently. They may approach that problem differently. They may solve that problem differently and more efficiently than I can. So me just thinking, oh, I have this problem, so other people might have it. I think it's a good starting point to have the problem that you're trying to solve. I think it's a great starting point, but that still doesn't mean that you know enough to work in isolation without talking to anybody else who will have that problem. Because what will happen is you'll go down a rabbit hole of building the exact solution that you want to see that may not make any sense to somebody else. It happens constantly. It happens even if you know this problem, or you feel like you know this problem better than anybody else in the whole world. Guaranteed, not everybody sees the problem the same way that you do. 100%. Please make use of no-code tools. It is not that hard. It is not that hard. It's a little hard. Once you have an idea, create a landing page using Webflow and run meta ads. $25 per day is more than enough for ads. Webflow, I actually find to be a little bit more difficult to learn. I've tried Webflow a few times, and I think there are easier website creation tools like Card or Yep.so. I'm talking getting out a very nice landing page in a matter of like 20 minutes. Webflow is not that tool unless unless you know it already. Maybe you can do it, but Webflow has a pretty decent learning curve, in my opinion. It's not the easiest tool to learn. So I would interchange maybe one of the other tools here for the for a landing page. Well, for a landing page. If you saw engagement, then you can get a lot done by using Webflow for the front end. I don't know if you can use Webflow as a front end software or front end application. I know you can use it for a landing page and collecting valuable marketing insights. I think that's really what it's for. But I don't know that you can use it as a front end in the same way that you could use like Retool or Bubble as a front end web application. I don't know. Airtable for the database, that I definitely know. You can use Airtable for the database. Airtable is actually kind of expensive. Zapier for the backend, or all of the, I think what they mean to say here is like all of the logic that in which the front end and back end are communicating. Stripe for a payment gateway, yes, and MemberStack. YC $20 for a subscription. I'm not sure what that is. What is MemberStack? You add user authentication and payments to your web applications without one line of code. Interesting. Never heard of MemberStack. All right, so I learned another tool today. Now, at this point, you might be saying, well, goddamn, that's 5 tools that I, 1, need to learn, and 2, if I, again, speaking to the people who code, like, why would I learn these 5? Why would I learn these tools? Or why would I learn Webflow or Airtable if I know how to build build a page with HTML and CSS and JavaScript? Why would I do that? It would be faster to code it. Maybe that's the case. But in all reality, it's probably actually because you have for developers, for people who code, it's going to be, you're going to pick up any one of these tools pretty quickly because of the fundamental knowledge that you have about how coding and developing works. You're going to pick that up quickly. You're probably going to be able to pick this up and do something useful with these 5 tools that are listed here faster than you can code it, even if you are an efficient coder. It's just faster. Like, I don't know how it might not be the tool that you're comfortable with. It may, we all have our comfort zone. I gravitate towards Bubble, even though I know sometimes Bubble is not the right tool. I'll still go there first because it's just what I know, and that is fair. That's, everyone wants to use the tool that they're most familiar with, or the programming language that they're most familiar with. But if you're specifically testing a new idea, it makes more sense to use one of these tools to start getting feedback, to see if the idea is even valid, to then go and custom code it, right? That's a high effort. No matter what you're building. It doesn't matter how great of a coder you are. No matter what you're building, that's a high effort task to build something that's useful for people. And the reality is, you can get a lot of insight and a lot of learning and a lot closer to the features that your users do want on a no-code tool before you go ahead and code it in the traditional way, right? It's just, like I say, it's just faster. It's not that no-code tools are better than code or vice versa. It's just like when and where to implement the right tool, right? New ideas, you're gonna get something out faster that you can put in front and test with people with a no-code tool, guaranteed. Even with the landing page. But wait, you can build a successful startup with no code. Joe Spicer, 12 million a year SaaS founder. Spencer Scott bootstrapped Loop to 300K in monthly recurring revenue, acquired Median and took it to $1 million annual recurring revenue. That's crazy. Matt Gray, 3.9 million a year, 60% margin SaaS founder. Simon Hoiberg, 25K month recurring revenue, bootstrapped founder. So, like I said, if you're non-technical, let me speak to the non-technical people now. Like if you're non-technical, are you going to go spend your life savings on hiring a traditional development team to build this idea that you have not tested yet? If you have validated the idea and you have traction somewhere, right? You already have paying users. That's a bit different. That's a bit different than being the spot of I just have a new crazy idea that I want to test out and see if it's worth investing in. To go at that phase, to go to an investor or go to a traditional dev shop to say, "Hey, here's all my money. This is my idea. Build this for me," is irresponsible. That's irresponsible. You just don't know enough yet about what you're building. And I hear a lot. Another objection that I hear quite a bit is, well, investors may not like the fact that it's built on a no-code tool, which is just that's not true. That's not true. I don't think an investor cares. I've heard this from multiple people who have raised funds that the investors don't care what stack you're using. They care about the size of the market that you're trying to target, and they care about how fast you can find your product market fit. That's what investors care about. What tech stack you use will change. It's interchangeable. There's always going to be, you can always find a different person with a different skill set to build whatever you need, right? Like in time. But in the beginning, this was I'm going to use this as an example of what I'm talking about. This dude, I think his name is Brendan Campbell Barron. He, in his example, he went from he had a co-founder, a technical co-founder who knows how to code. They built on Bubble first, got to the point where they hit the walls. It's a video creation platform, to simplify it quite a bit. And they built on Bubble first, got traction, got paying users. And what they learned on Bubble and what they changed in Bubble was so much faster than what they could have done in code. Now they're at a point where they're like, we keep hitting these limits and these walls due to the nature of how Bubble uploads video content to the database. Like there was a reason for them to move off, but they hit that wall first. They were open-minded and said, let's see how far we can get on Bubble because we can build faster on it. And then once they hit that point of, okay, I think we're ready to move into a traditional stack, that's when they made the move. Now they're hiring a team, and the CTO is leading that team to develop it in React. Fine. That's a fair reason to say, oh, we should, like we've got the traction, we've got the users. And what's going to be more impressive to an investor? Again, if you're thinking about this from the, like if you're thinking about this, oh, well, an investor is going to care what stack I'm on. What's more impressive to an investor? Is it more impressive to say, hey, I bootstrapped this idea and I've got $10,000 in monthly recurring revenue. These are my users. I figured out all the things that they want. I'm stuck here because of the limitations of this platform. And I want to be able to hire a development team to rebuild it. Fine. If that's the case, is that going to be more impressive? Or is it going to be, if you go into investors saying, hey, I've got this great app idea, haven't built it yet. I've done 3 user interviews. People say they're interested. I need $100,000 to hire a developer to build this for me. Like, which one do you think the investor is going to be more impressed with? I have to think it's going to be the former, the one where you have traction already. You're showing some type of traction, and you've pushed the limits of any no-code platform. Now, I'm not even going to say that these limits will always exist, because I don't believe that. I think that you'll be amazed at how far you can get just using no-code tools. But when you do start feeling those pain points of we're being held back by whatever stack we're using, that's when I think it's time to move. Not in the beginning. Not when you're just testing the idea. So I think the overarching point here is that, as the stream was titled today, no code first. No code first. If it's a new idea, no code first, and introduce different stacks, custom code, an entirely different platform. Introduce those as you need them, not from the beginning because you think, oh, well, what if this scales and I don't have the capacity to, the platform that I chose can't handle the traffic, or the traffic that I chose can't handle these technical specs. Get there first before you decide not to use a no-code platform. And like I say, even for people who code, I still feel like this is a smaller time investment because you have a fundamental knowledge of development already. Why not start with something that you can do faster than you can learn through coding? And then once you're comfortable, once you know exactly who you're serving, how you're positioning the product, you found a bit of product market fit. Once you have all that and you're limited by the original stack that you chose, assuming you get there, again, doesn't mean that you have to get to that point, but assuming you do get there, that's the time to say, okay, that's the responsible business decision to invest $100,000 to build this in React. That is fair. That is fair. And we should all, no code and code, should accept that that is a responsible, smart approach to testing a new idea. So this rapid app development, I feel like needs to start with the no-code tools. With how far they've come at this point, it should start with that. Once you found strong product market fit and the no-code tools are not supporting you anymore, then maybe you can start building things from scratch. Exactly like I said. I'm probably just parroting what I read here, and that's, I think this was a good article. The most important thing for any startup is the velocity of iteration. Right. How fast can you learn about the people that you are solving a problem for? Yes, I have been this guy. And I wish this girl had told me that when I started. Pretty sure this is Star Wars. I feel ignorant for not knowing what reference this is. This is a Star Wars reference, right? Yeah. All right. Let's see what the people are saying here. Let's see if I'm on target. Let's see if people disagree with me. Let's see what they're saying. This is exactly why I recommend the prototype or no-code phase first, if possible. The typical cause is an external pressure to rush to build. Yeah, true. However, doing so will be always more expensive in the long run. If you're worried about tainting your brand recognition or similar by testing a prototype out that might be buggy or not quite perfect, then make up a new throwaway brand. $100 on Fiverr will get you halfway there. Test it, then use those insights to build a commercial product under your brand. That's an interesting thought. Just relaunch with a different name. Why not? As the founder of AXOL, I feel responsible for ensuring clients who approach me with a big check to deliver an untested prototype or assisted in that journey properly. Thank you, Sam. Thank you. Yeah, that's really not everybody thinks that way. And I appreciate that because it's easy to take people's money when they're really excited about something and then not guide them in any way. You may even deliver exactly what they ask for, but the long-term result is that they're going to get something that they can't use. It's happened to me. Not everyone is tech savvy or aware that these tools exist. We help them test the market, knock together a cheap no-code prototype or wireframes all before building the real deal. I know I'm not the only one approaches startups in this way, but some agencies will count the money while you drown and never look back. Amen. Amen, Sam Jordan. Sam Jordan, we create the prototype under a fake brand. We use logo maker to help create a logo, and then we create a landing page. But not all LNGs help the customer with the product discovery, because as an agency, they're motivated to put a lot of people into the project to spend the most amount of time possible to charge the client. It is their business model. That's true. Now you get into the conversation of, well, what is the responsibility of the agency or freelancer? This is questionable, right? It depends on the way that you think about this. I wouldn't even call it ethics, because ethically, if your motivation is to just have your business make the most money as possible and grow it, you as the business owner, that's kind of your responsibility. Yeah, it behooves you to just take clients' money. But long term, eventually that's going to damage your reputation, because, well, I don't even know if that's true, because if you give them exactly what they asked for, did you do your job as the agency? Maybe you did. But I feel responsible to kind of guide someone. When someone says, "Hey, John, I've got a $25,000 budget for this tool, can you make it happen?" If someone comes to me with that, and they just say, "Yeah, here are my specs," and it's a one-page document, I'm gonna have a lot of questions. Did you test this? Did you test this? Who have you spoken to about this idea? I feel like I have to do that, because the end result of what they get, even if I deliver exactly what they say, when they want it, in the time frame that they want it, if they go out and nobody wants this idea, who won in that situation? Me, the agency, the freelancer, the developer. I'm $25,000 richer, but that person is probably not going to continue to work with me. Maybe they will, but I don't feel like I've completed my job as the agency until I've really understood the problem and given them some guidance on, where do you expect to test this? Where do you expect to do this? Who do you expect to use this product? Understanding that in the beginning. So that's how I think about this. The idea of changing your logo too. You put something out there that is maybe of lower quality, equipped prototype under a fake brand, and then relaunch the real deal as your brand. That's an interesting one. I've never considered that. There's an interesting concept here. But I guess you could go back and forth on the ethics of, like a client gave me $100,000. I delivered exactly what they said they wanted. They should be happy. Versus pushing back on the client and saying, "Hey, have you thought about this, this, and this before we start building anything?" You get into the role more of a product manager. Not everybody needs to do that, but it is, I think it's a good point of argument. Does this strategy work for mobile apps as well? I feel like no-code tools create unmaintainable code, so you either find out no one wants your thing, good, you saved money, people want your thing. And for number 2, now you need to build the app from scratch, as the no-code tools like Flutterflow create unmaintainable, unscalable code. I can't really speak to that. I can't really speak to how if Flutterflow creates unsustainable and unscalable code. I've never used Flutterflow, but I can vouch for Bubble in the sense that you can get a lot further than just, a prototype. You can get further than that. Again, you may hit technical and traffic limits at some point in the future, but that at that point, you're probably, you probably have a few 100,000 users or tens of thousands of users. You're still in a better position than you were had you just completely built this straight 100% from code from the beginning. Honestly, MVP can just be a landing page. Yes, thank you. Thank you for saying that, Milos. Yes. Built in a few hours. Card is a great option. Drive traffic. Yep.so. That's another good option. A new one I just found out about. Might not be new. I think I just found out about it. Check if people click the CTA or not, and then go build. Yes. Please no WordPress. I tried to create a few projects on WordPress to save money, but it was not worth it. Carrd is a great tool for building landing pages. You can use it. My favorite tool is Webflow. Or if you watch any YouTube video, you probably already have seen the Squarespace and somewhere in between. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I've tried to use WordPress also, and I found it really difficult to use. It's I don't know. I just couldn't figure it out. Flutter plus Firebase is amazing combo. So 90% of the code is common for iOS and Android, and the backend is simple to set up and is infinitely scalable as it is on Google's infrastructure. As for more experience, I've launched 8 apps of my own and for multiple clients through TopTal. It's amazing what focusing on one thing for years can do. Went from launching horrible apps in 8 months to launching amazing apps in 2 to 4 weeks. The problem is MVP should never be a product. It's just an experiment to quickly validate a product idea, and obviously it shouldn't cost $100,000. Yes, exactly. $100,000 or 1,000 development hours, right? Let's think of this from the developer or the coder's perspective too. It should not take 1,000 development hours to start validating your idea. That's too much. That's too expensive. Even if you know how to code, if you put 1,000 hours into your app idea before showing it to anybody, that's still too expensive. It's the equivalent of $1,000 or $100,000 for a non-technical person to invest in something that they have no idea is whether or not it's going to work or not, or if anyone cares about it. Amen. MVP should be a product, should not be a product. And thank you for sharing your Medium article. Ooh. Let's see what this is. Stop wasting money. Oh, here we go. MVP is just a product. Many self-appointed gurus keep repeating that the MVP, the first usable product version with a minimal feature set. BS. Even Wikipedia is wrong. MVP, MMP, MLP definition. All right, we got to check that out later. So after witnessing all the reactions today, it seems once again that we, working on the same or adjacent fields, do not agree, are not aligned what a term concept actually means. This time it was MVP. Most of the previous times it was data warehouse. How come we are so bad at this? Why is our field of work so immature? If there are multiple interpretations of the same word, sharing knowledge, even with a domain, will stay problematic. I wonder what your take on this is, John O'Gorman. I do agree that the jargon in this in software and app development is a little inconsistent. It is, especially like with the tools, they all have different names for the same things, like your design tab, your elements, your workflows, your data. Data is the one that's probably the most consistent. But it does get a little frustrating trying to learn different terminology that for the same stuff. It's one thing I think we could all do better. Run meta ads. $25 per day is more than enough for ads. You forgot to say how many days. Touche. I usually run ads for 2 weeks, and anything more than 2% conversion rate is good in my books. Ooh, there we go. 2% conversion rate. That's kind of helpful. I didn't know that. 2% conversion rate would be considered a success if you run ads for 2 weeks and you get 2% signups. I guess 2% meaning like comparing the impressions on the impressions of how many people saw it versus how many people actually signed up. That's hard to hear. I had wasted some bucks like this, but I'm not sure how dynamic no-code platforms are, and upgraded versions of those platforms are pay as you go. Obviously, they are startups, right? I would say that having at least 1 or 2 developers is always a better option at any given point. What about in the very beginning when you're just starting out? How are you going to get, you got 10 G's, $10,000 to create an MVP. How are you going to hire anybody to do that? You're not going to hire a traditional. You're not going to be able to get anything useful for that low. Not in traditional coding. You need to give the no-code tools a try. I'm not saying that they will be the answer for everything. We always need talented developers. True, we do. We always do. But you can get a lot done with these tools, which caused the rise of the solopreneur. Yes, this is a good answer. It's not the answer for every problem. It's not the answer for it's not the solution for every technical problem. It definitely is not. It's not. So there are times when you will need code, and I can almost guarantee that you will need code. At some point, you will need code. I remember the I am developer post that I reviewed a while back. I can't find it now, but it sent everybody into a frenzy of all it said was the no code movement should really be named you will eventually need some code. That's all it said, which I think is accurate. It's accurate. You will need some code eventually. You're going to need some code. Bubble is not a no code tool. Bubble is a low code platform. You will need some code. How much code you'll need, how much needs to be 100% custom coded, and when that has to happen, that's where I think we're a little bit misaligned. That's the only point that I'm making here. These are not two separate things. It's just when you introduce this tool over this one, what is the best tool for the time frame that you have, where you are in the phase of validating whatever your idea is. That is what the argument that I'm making here. Code does not go anywhere. Code is not going anywhere. We need code. I'm a developer and I would use no code tool to do a small MVP or landing page with a plan and build and migrate to a scalable version in mind. Fair. That's fair. An MVP that scales is great if you have the budget for it. And more importantly, the time to market for it. If you don't have the time, I would strongly suggest 2 builds. Mohammed, what is the advice for dev agencies who build products for most and want to use expertise and ability to build its own products? I think that this is the best question I read on this post so far. It's $1 million question. Few dev agencies make it work. If you need to spin out a team, which outside agency, and give them goals and responsibilities. Because the dev agency is not motivated to innovate, they are motivated to deliver on time and keep the customer happy. Very true. Second, you can leverage the experience that you will have in the dev agency, because the cool thing about working in an agency is the exposure to different domains and different markets, which is a game which garners lateral thinking. Good answers all around. It's not Muhammad, it's Mahmoud. He's got an answer for everything. And they're all like very level-headed and not defensive. And accurate. That is exactly what we're doing. Our 3-code brand custom dev shop is our Alchemy technology. Okay, so even agencies are hiring other agencies to build products for them. It's interesting. It's a very nice, quick, easy stack. I agree with your sentiments. Thank you for the support. A lot of first-time founders think that they need to spend money from the startup to work, for the startup to work. There's an old saying: if you don't have money, you better have time. If you don't have either, don't bother. I think that's fair. There are a lot of tools in the no-code or low-code space, but these are the ones that I use on a regular basis. How exactly are you suggesting to do this with no-code in the event when the startup actually is based on custom built? I.e., how would you imagine Figma built with no-code? I don't think that's what you're saying. Dimitri, was a joke about MVP. But could be a good product MVP 20 years ago. Yes, you will not get attention with this product, but many people think that they could make something as MVP very quick. It's a good example of what could be delivered quick. This is nowhere near what Figma product enables. At most, the proof of concept of drawing and shaping. I really have a hard time imagining my designer handling me over a product UI using the app you just shared. Minimal, but not a minimal viable product. Let's see what this is. I mean, I don't know. I don't know how to think about this. Oh, I get it now. I kind of missed some of the responses here. There are ideas which simply can't be created through no-code solutions. If an abstract idea abstract enough, it can be hard for potential customers to visualize before seeing a functional MVP. Of course, there are workarounds and examples like the one you mentioned, but if you're truly creating something on the bleeding edge, I don't think you'll be able to achieve that without building your product from scratch. Take cryptocurrency, blockchain technology, Uber, and Facebook as examples. These ideas couldn't be created with Zapier, Webflow, and the like because they didn't exist. Today, there are multiple no-code solutions to build apps, Web3, and software, but there wasn't back in the early 2000s in the same way that there aren't any easy no-code ways to approach quantum computing, space travel, true AI, and other truly groundbreaking things. Real innovation cannot be built with off-the-shelf tools. Sure, good marketing can make up for missing features in a sloppy product, but I doubt any of the examples you gave of startups that started with no-code solutions were truly revolutionary. Sometimes you just have to risk it. I'm not. There's a few things that I agree with there, but I think the majority of things, all of these things that these bleeding edge ideas here, they're not the most useful for your average person, right? Like if you're on the bleeding edge, yeah, I agree. You probably need code, right? You probably need code if you're on the bleeding edge of whatever industry you're building. But like there's so many inefficient systems that can be solved with no code solutions within business and within our regular lives today that don't involve cryptocurrency. Think of like the more common use cases. Sure, it depends on the idea, but the more radical the innovation, the less likely that tools may exist, but most ideas aren't radical. Exactly. Thank you. Like if you're going to look for the outlier, if you're going to look for the most complicated, say, the complicated idea that you can think of, and then say, can no code do this? There's always going to be something, incredibly complex that's going to be difficult, or that's going to be easier to build with code. Yes, of course. Let's build a new database in no code. Let's try to launch an activity tracker in no code. Let's solve health problem in no code. Let's build a category. I feel like this person is being sarcastic. Let's secure something in no code. This is true and only true for problems where you can replace or build a workflow. For problems that require already designed integrations for forms, it's a false narrative to pretend that any problem can be solved without first crossing a nearly impossible zero point of capital, time, expertise, and exploration. I do understand low barrier entry problems can create tons of value if you build companies for a living, but we need more brilliant founders aiming for the impossible. I really don't think we do. I don't think we do. I don't think we need that many people aiming for the impossible. I think the majority of problems can be solved with simpler solutions than we think. Not less than scratch away from the big ambitions in favor of building more forms and fill more databases because they told you should only launch in no code. Big fan of the UFDs and Zapier, by the way. I always need them. Maybe. I don't know. I don't know. Such attitude, although very correct and beneficial for founders, led already to the situations that investors must spend a lot of money to rewrite technology from trashy no-code solutions to scalable ones. It is one of the more frustrating traps in fintech startups specifically. That's why internal corporate startups use serious tech from the very beginning. At the end, it's much cheaper just commenting. The MVP no-code solution should not be the solution. It is leveraged as a learning tool. This is where the mix-up happens. Fair. Founders thinking their MVP is the V1 of the product. No, it's learning tool, a research tool. If you think of it as your first true version of your product, then yes, you will need to rewrite. Founders with the technical capability can also just work together with the CTO so that these three mistakes are never made. Next to this, almost 75% of all startups fail. So wasting money on no code without a solid business case is just dumb, as the one you suggest, but less costly. I'd rather go Figma if you want to prove your case, that should set you up for the rounds of micro investments in order to build up your own IP instead of wasting money on no code to build your IP and building their IP. Don't get me wrong, I like low code and no code, but I advise to use this for internal applications and workflows, not when you want to build your own intellectual property. No code or low code can be excellent options for a lot of startups. I developed my own dev shop and stuff from what I'm agreeing with that. However, these startups that succeeded are outliers. Therefore, there is no process that every startup should do that works in all cases. I think that's fair. I think that's very fair. Every case is unique. There are businesses that can test demand with a landing page. Others require a prototype and pitches to high-level execs. Some can do with a pitch deck and so forth. When it comes to building MVPs for your startup, you don't need to spend $100K for a high-quality custom full-code solution. There are a lot of agencies, such as mine, that have had several service lines targeted at startups that can create MVPs for a fraction of that cost, that are ready for the fast iterations required by the build, measure, learn cycle. Okay, I think there's a lot of they're saying a lot of the same here. I think the what it comes down to is, yeah, these cases are going to be different. All right, so what did I start out saying? My original point was you should always build a no code first and then then introduce code as needed. So let me revise that a little bit. I think that most cases, I think I did say 90%. I think most cases you can start with a no-code solution because it's faster to test and learn about the problem that you're solving than it would be to code it traditionally. I can't imagine that anyone disagrees with me on that. Even if you code, it's going to be quicker for you to learn Bubble or a no-code tool and put something out there and start getting initial feedback. So even if you do plan to build it in code, you still have a better idea of what you're building or what you're coding down the line. So I don't think much the comments here have changed my opinion from the beginning that much, but I do think that something that this dude said resonated, where it's like some things will just be like they have to, in order for a user or somebody to understand it, they have to have a functioning product in front of them. I think there's certain cases where that is true, but again, that's probably the 10%. It's probably the 10% of use cases. And to the idea that, like these platforms can't push the limits, they don't have to. They don't have to push the limits. They don't have to be on the bleeding edge of cryptocurrency and Web3. They don't have to. They can be, but they don't have to do that. There's more regular average use cases and problems that these tools can solve that don't need to be custom coded. And I think that's where no code fits in. All right. I will catch you tomorrow, probably at 1 p.m., either 1 p.m. or 7 p.m. tomorrow. I'm not sure yet. We'll talk about more rapid app development stuff. All right. Thanks for watching.